Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. As many of you know, I'm a person that doesn't like a whole lot of drama. So, but I do want to make sure we take this opportunity to enjoy. I think this budget, it's one that is important to all of us. It certainly is one to me, and one that reflects a lot of great work. So first of all, let me thank everybody for coming this morning, and certainly Board President David Chu for helping me co-host this, and our chair of our budget committee, Carmen Chu, and her work with us already started and will help guide us along with Board President David Chu on all of the hearings that the rest of the board will have. And I want to thank each and every member of the Board of Supervisors as well. And you've been weighing in, and we've been creating a different dialogue on the front end to make sure that all of our constituents know what we're doing, more transparent, and ultimately where our values are. I also want to a great shout out and thanks to everybody here in this room. I know there's a lot of department heads and commissions and labor representatives and representatives from our nonprofits and community members as well. Thank you for engaging us in this really dedicated 6-month process. I want to go back to the very first neighborhood budget hearing that we held about almost 6 months ago, Kate. And it was one where I was asked at the very beginning, what does the budget mean to you? And I think I wasn't the only one. I believe there were several supervisors that were there, and we all said pretty much the same thing. It really is a reflection of our values as a city. And it's one that we want to work hard at, but ultimately it is who we are, and it's a combined effort here, a collaborative effort, and so it still is that way. And you'll see from the highlights that we'll be announcing today, reflective in this budget, it still is a reflection of all of our values. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. Again, thank you for Board President Chu and Budget Chair Carmen Chu and all the others that I've identified today. I also want to say at the outset, this budget reflects countless hours of work, a lot of work behind the scenes. In addition to all the neighborhood budget meetings that we had, there were numerous staff meetings. Kate Howard's done a wonderful job with her staff. They've met with all of the different departments. Thank you. This is her first full year budget working with us, but she's done a marvelous job, and her staff has done a great job. And it isn't just putting numbers together, it's listening to each of the finance personnel from each department. It is engaging in the numerous meetings that we had with community. It's engaging with staff of the various supervisors, the nonprofits, that we had special meetings together. It was health and human services and housing and homeless advocates, others. She was there and her staff was there at every turn, making sure that we listened, we reflected in both number crunching and challenging each other about what the priorities are and so forth. There's a lot of great work behind us. I also want to give a great shout out to Steve Cava. Steve, wonderful with all your work. It's not easy. You and Mickey Callahan, it's really not easy at all to face a year where there's 27 labor contracts open, and we're trying to keep everybody in the room, trying to make sure that we make promises we can keep. And having been a former employee relations director in my very first job in the city, I know that keeping promises with our labor representative is critical to building trust and to make sure that we carry out and we honor all of that they do every single day in carrying out services for us. To all the department heads and your wonderful staffs, thank you. And I also want to make sure I acknowledge all of our labor unions, all of their representatives. For years, you've worked with us and sacrificed and bemoaned the bad budget years, but you've stepped up in every occasion. for the department heads, and for the nonprofits who we share responsibility with in all of those important areas of health and human services. Thank you for sacrificing so many years. And now we get to, I think, a budget that has some relatively good news and a good foundation. This year, we began the hard work of presenting the city's first two-year budget. And we began that year with a $263 million deficit for our general fund, and then the coming year, the second year, a $375 million shortfall. That's what we faced at the very beginning. But because of the fiscal discipline that we put in process, a discipline that's reflected in the great work of Ben Rosenfield and his staff and the Comptroller's Office that keeps reminding me about the credit ratings of our city and how we must make sure that we do things in a very solid financial way. We made investments in job creation, and we made commitments to reform with that guidance. Now San Francisco's economy is recovering, and our reserves are growing. In fact, during the last 9 months, Comptroller has reported out our revenues were $172 million more than projected. This is good news. This is good news, but it did not come without commitments and without sacrifice by everybody and all the groups represented in this room. And I would like to again thank our employee unions for working with us to find a common goal, saving us city money and protecting services, saving more than $28 million in your contract negotiations with us. I'm happy to report that I'm presenting a responsible and balanced two-year budget where we spare the city the deep cuts we've experienced over the last several years, and one that I present to you in a San Francisco economy that's recovering. In this budget, you will see investments that ensure that people who live, work, and visit our city feel safe, investments that protect our social safety net, that supports seniors and youth, low-income and working-class families, investments that support our neighborhoods, our infrastructure, and our commercial corridors. This budget reflects a lot of collaboration and partnership with our San Francisco community. And one thing we agreed on early was that in a time of state and federal cuts, protecting our social safety net is more important than ever. And in this budget, I've rejected all service reductions in our health department and human service agencies. I've included full restoration of federal cuts to programs and services that serve people with HIV and AIDS. Another thing we agreed on early was that we wouldn't abandon our redevelopment areas, even when the state has. The loss of redevelopment has been a severe blow to our city, especially for this 3rd Street corridor. So in my budget, we will invest in economic development initiatives in the heart of Bayview to stabilize businesses and attract new ones. We will also continue our investment in Central Market, and especially 6th Street, where the elimination of redevelopment has left a gap in services. With our community partners, and including the very spirited arts community that's been so wonderful in helping us lead that effort, we'll support businesses in that sector, attract new ones, and keep the area clean and safe. We will also invest in the youth of San Francisco and in their education. I will propose releasing the $6 million in rainy day funds to support our public schools to offset the state's steep cuts to education. Most importantly in this budget, we are putting San Franciscans back to work. You've heard me say on many occasions, most recently, our unemployment rate dropped from 9.6% in early 2011 to 7.4% today, our lowest since 2008. We as a city, along with our business partners in every neighborhood, we created 22,500 net new jobs in San Francisco in just the last year. That's good. That is really good, but we need to do more. With this budget, we are continuing to invest in strategies that incentivize job creation, training, and place our residents for their jobs for the 21st century. We are creating a climate and conditions that give investors and entrepreneurs confidence in our city, allowing them to work with us to innovate, to grow, and to create jobs, whether they are in neighborhood, small businesses, or tech startup, or a thriving global headquarters. In neighborhoods, we are more than doubling grants available to small businesses, and we are including $4 million for neighborhood commercial districts through our new Invest in Neighborhood strategy. That includes Job Squad and a recapitalized small business revolving loan fund. We are bringing City Hall to the neighborhoods where it belongs to support our small businesses. My proposed budget includes $4 million in smart capital investments and $441 million in smart capital investments in our city's 10-year capital plan to improve and invest in the city's infrastructure. Over the next 2 years, we'll invest in and improve our Hetch Hetchy water system, begin our airport's runway area plan, and continue investing in our waterfront. We will also continue to invest in our parks. And I've joined the members of the Board of Supervisors to introduce a $195 million bond measure to keep our parks clean and safe. All told, over the next 2 years, enterprise departments will actually support more than 8,700 jobs in San Francisco by infusing $1.3 billion into our local economy. And as our economy grows and as we add jobs, we must redouble our efforts to expand housing opportunities and build more housing for people at every income level. I get it. I know there's anxiety out there because rents are starting to creep up, and again, in every neighborhood as our economy recovers. But the answer to scarce housing and rising rents is not to stop growing our economy or creating jobs. That's why we proposed the Housing Trust Fund measure for this November, to create a permanent source of housing and revenue to fund the production of housing at every level of our economic spectrum. I am pleased to share with you, too, that my budget also includes a 6-year police and fire hiring plan. This hiring plan for police and fire will train the next generation of San Francisco public safety personnel. We are planning for anticipated retirements, reducing overtime, and making sure our public safety departments are appropriately staffed. Now, of course, this submission of the budget is not the end of the process. I've looked forward to working with the full board to ensure that our residents receive quality services while we balance the budget and continue in our economic recovery. I again want to recognize Supervisor Carmen Chu and the Board of Supervisors as the Supervisor's Budget Chair for her steadfast leadership and commitment to building a collaborative process backed up with our Board President, David Chu. Thank you, Steve Cava, Chief of Staff. Thank you, Budget Office Director Kate Howard. And to Ben Rosenfeld, thank you for you and your wonderful staff. And I will advance thank you, Harvey Rose, for his work that he'll be doing. This is a very less dramatic presentation, I know that, but all the work has been done in a very comprehensive way, and I want you to know that the values of the city are intact, we are moving forward, and we are investing in all of our neighborhoods in San Francisco. Thank you very much today. Yes. 7.3 billion.
It's a rounding error. It's something.
Thank you. Okay, back to work.